This was an interesting week as we had our audio class, and I'm not really at all an expert on any of the audio terms or um, any other technical stuff that goes down with with a concert or anything that has to do with an audio setup. I like that's alien to me. But this class has been very helpful and has been very um, it's been very helpful because it familiarizes me with stuff that probably I would have never sat down to actually take the time to read or pay attention to. So I really am looking forward um, to learn a little bit more about it. And for this assignment, I chose two terms, which in a way also I didn't know what they would stand for. Like I had an idea of what they were, but I didn't actually know what what they were good for. So my two audio terms. Let's start with the first one. Is front of house. The front of house is that little spot in front of a concert area that has all these mixers and all like this huge setup where everything apparently is connected to, and a sound engineer has the task of calibrating the sound that comes from the stage. So besides the front of house, there's another spot that's usually next to the actual stage, the stage itself. There's people either on the side or behind the stage that monitor the sound that each instrument or each voice is doing. And in this case, um, the monitor spot is connected to the front of house, just so they can also know what is going on stage. But the front of house, the primary function of them is to just basically calibrate the sound that comes off from the stage. And it's very interesting because during our class on Tuesday, we saw a basic, very small mixer and how you can connect like basic stuff and you can regulate volumes or inputs and outputs. It didn't look at all complicated, um, but uh, the hard part comes when you're actually working with different cables and when you're working with different sound waves. Because apparently there's three sound waves. There's the high sound waves, middle sound waves, and the low or subwoofer sound waves. And between these, there's another whole spectrum, which is high medium, low medium, low low. So it's like there's a whole different spectrum, and the cables apparently help us regulate the sound waves as they go into the front of house. One of the other cool things that the sound engineers do from the front of house is that they usually regulate the sound. I don't remember the name of the actual application or the name of the actual software, but it gives you this diagram where you can tell where the sound waves are stronger in a given space. So when they display that, when they have that diagram, they can in turn they can say, all right, so we can regulate this side and we regulate this side because there's a lot of high sound waves in the middle. Let's regulate that so it's less marked. So it's a very interesting role and a really hard task for the sound engineers to do. So that's the first term. That's front of house. And let's jump onto the second term. But before that, as I was saying, there's different types of cables. These were the most basic ones that we saw. The XLR cable, if you notice, it has 3 pins. The jack cable, which apparently regulates only mono sounds, so like it only gives off one type of wave, one type of like the XLR cable. In a way, it's a stereo cable. I'll explain on the next slide why, in a way. And the jack cable is only mono because it's only like one cable coming out from an instrument going into a mixer or a direct box or whatever regulates the sound and the noise of an instrument or a voice. Then there's the speak-on cable, which is apparently one of the most modern cables at the moment, and the RCA cable, which, as the teacher said, it won't go away. One of the cool things about the RCA cable is that, again, it's coiled in a different way. For like the white and red cable, those are the audio cables, and then the yellow cable is the video cable. And the reason why it's the video cable, I'm forgetting right now. I'll need to check my notes, but the reason why I think the video cable is the video cable, it's because it's coiled differently. So the red and the white, they only have like one coil, like one in a way, let's say 1 pin, as opposed to video cable having a couple, so it only admits video input. So when you plug in, let's say, a white into where the video is supposed to be, it's not going to work because the cable is coiled in a special way. So that was fascinating also to learn, because it's like stuff you know by instinct, but you don't know why. Like, you don't ask yourself why it's that way. But yeah, it's still kind of cool to learn the basics. Speak on cable, I'm still not clear on exactly how it works, or why it works that way, or why it has that shape. But all I know is that it's a modern cable. So the second term here, out of the 4 that you see now, I picked the XLR cable. And this one is kind of the one you see on the microphones mostly. And the reason why it has those 3 pins, as we were explained in class, it's because one pin sends a signal. Let's say like wave 1 sends one signal, sends a frequency, and then the second pin sends the same sound at a different frequency. So what that does is that it adds strength to the signal, and it's more what's the word, finesse, like it's more uh, has more, like there's more stuff you can play with as it's regulated. So if there's more pins, you have more ways to manipulate the sound coming off from a cable. So the XLR cable is kind of the basic ones. You only use it for microphones. Apparently, you should not use an XLR cable for, let's say, a guitar, because a guitar is meant to be mono. You don't want to dabble with different frequencies, because it'll then create noise if it's an instrument. But if it's voice, because you want to increment the fidelity of the sound, then you will, in a way, use the XLR cable for that. That was my understanding during the class, and it was kind of cool to know and learn, because it's like, oh, so you plug in an XLR cable into this mixer, which goes into the front of house, then that means I can regulate 2 channels. I can regulate the wave 1 and the wave 2, and just manipulate the frequency, and yeah, I don't know. It was. I think that's how I got it. I might be wrong, but that's how I kind of got it. Like, bigger mixers regulate bigger frequencies because of the cables. Apparently, there's cables that have tons of pins, really thick. Um, and yeah, so those are my two terms. And apologize, I can't come into class. My throat is killing me. So hope I don't get a bad grade. So any questions, please send them over on the Moodle platform. And yeah, thanks a lot.